get better and better, we will be better than our competitors.
How are communications of project status done today?
There are a few things. So internally, we have a project watch list, so we have a review. That does show the status of every project that's going on. However, I will tell you, we focus on projects that are red, yellow, or on hold. We do see projects that go on hold. I should share that with you. Basically, what that means is that for some reason we cannot proceed or move forward with the project. That is 9 times out of 10 because our client has said, you're not prioritized at the top of my IT list. I'm working on a contract with a third-party IT vendor, or I'm implementing a new SAP process, so I'm not ready. So we have that internally from a management standpoint. If the project is worth $100,000 or more in revenue, the project manager sends a project status out to all of the executives within the organization on both the sales side and the operations side to communicate where we are, next step, status, any challenges that we're having, all of that. Outside of that, we have a system that we could go in to pull up anything, but I wouldn't say that happens all that often. From a customer communication standpoint, we have ideally weekly project team meetings where we're talking to the customer. There's an agenda and there's a status that's associated with that project agenda, a project meeting agenda. So we're talking through with them next steps, are we red, yellow, green, all of those things. There may be some opportunity there.
The other thing we do have, depending on the size, is we can create ad hoc reporting as we need to. So I'll use the example of we added a customer recently that was about a 15% increase in our volume in one area. And that was such a big deal because obviously there's capital expense, we have to hire staff and all that, that we created our own dashboard that we used internally for executives to see status on that project. So we can create ad hoc methods as we need to if the project demands.
Yeah. And Tom, you can share with us, which of these deliverables would you like us? We can show templates and that sort of thing if there's value.
So you have an employee training team, a client training team.
Yes.
How big are they?
Our employee training team is made up of 2 people who do it part-time.
Okay.
So very small.
Learning is not a major emphasis at the firm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's right. And clearly the 2 of us are evidence of that.
I'll also say that those 2 part-time people are not, they're training my entire world. So their primary focus is on the commercial support center. They need to be able to answer the phones when a customer calls. We do not focus them as much in the implementation space. I think that could be an opportunity.
And I point out one thing that you may not have picked up in Janelle's comments about, gee, sometimes our customer administrator might leave and we have to train, in effect, there's a new person. As you think about communication, keep in mind attrition. I mean, my average attrition on my team my target is about 17% a year. Now, attrition doesn't mean they all leave the company. They can move to other parts within the company. But for a lockbox and a call center, which is included in my universe, 17 is really pretty good. So
Is good?
it's very
Yes,
good.
very good.
Yes, it's very good.
Call centers are typically in the 30 to 40%.
Yeah, as bad as that sounds, like, God, your staff is turning over 20% a year. Yeah, and thank God, that's really
Right.
good.
We celebrate
So just keep in mind that part of our communication issue is that your population is always changing, not only on our end, but at our customers' companies too.
Yes.
You mentioned one of the key things for onboarding an employee is that they understand the values of the company. What are the values that they learn?
Accountability, integrity, teamwork and collaboration,
Respect.
trust and respect. Maybe
I'm
it's
glad
just
you got the
respect.
other 3 because I forgot.
Yeah, respect and inclusion. Respect and inclusion.
Yes, that's right. They're
Yes.
posted in my
You mentioned
office.
cycle time several times. Cycle time of what? Are they cycle time?
Cycle time from the point where the implementation the documentation and everything is complete to the customer is in production and we have the opportunity for revenue.
You can
So
think
the
that it's from the
actual
contract.
implementation project.
So you mentioned process and flow mapping. What other tools do you use to reduce those in your improvement project?
A lot of it has been process mapping and identification of waste. We just have activities in there that didn't need to be done, or misunderstanding between teams of what was required in order to truly kick off that next step in the process. So we, as an implementation project management team, may not have been given IT this one piece of data that we had ready, and they were going out and digging for it for a day to find it when we could just give it to them. So those types of things have really led to our cycle time reduction so far. We have, in some cases, looked at IT utilizing an offshore team and using more of a 24-hour clock for some of those things. We're somewhat challenged by, I don't have
The fact
the
that-
ability to add unlimited resources.
And the fact that I've mentioned about, we have customers' cash, their customer data, their bank account data. A lot of our customers do not want that information going offshore, or they don't want it using contractors.
We are seeing that more and more in contracts.
So is that part of your IT team that is outsourced? And if so, what type of communication do they have directly with your customers or your internal customers as well?
It is the IT team that we use the offshore team for. They do not have any interaction directly with our company. They would work on anything, communicate to their IT resource, who would then be a partner with our project management team. And our project manager is really the face to the client.
I'm just curious why you choose communication. I mean, are there, do you feel you have communications issues?
We absolutely have heard from our employees that communication is a challenge. So communication of process change, we've spent a lot of time trying to make sure that we are rolling things out in a very methodical way, and we will feel very comfortable that we're going in and we're explaining, here's the problem, here's why we'd like to solve it this way, what do you think, how do we partner together, and we will ultimately request that a certain process change occur, and then there's a lot of frustration there. So there has to be some better way for us to communicate to our customers, get them on board with the solution, show them the value of that solution. And then from a customer standpoint, I think throughout our entire sales process, I think customer communication is really critical to us. It's the thing that, to Jim's point, it's the only differentiator that as an organization we really have. So every bank has lockbox, every bank has ACH. Our pricing's not really all that different. So the thing that we have, the opportunity we have to differentiate ourselves is really that custom file formatting, which we're already doing, and our ability to communicate and be a stronger partner to our customers than we are today.
And communication, we purposely picked that word, meaning for it to be
It's
broad.
Yeah.
We didn't say train, because in my mind, that's a piece of communication. And maybe there's something else we aren't thinking about that you guys can help educate us on. So that's why we chose that.
If this was, if they were starting up a operations area for a bank, if this was a startup, the one, I can guarantee you, the one value proposition that they would have would be how do we communicate, if we want to use it, how do we communicate differently and better with our customer? That would be your value proposition.
What has worked so far and what has not worked so far? Can you share that with us? When you say communication, you say this method has really worked for us on one client. What has it worked for?
Yeah, I think the one example of process and changing processes and asking people, like for instance, in order for us to get a system where I could click on it and I could see every project and every status, that requires somebody to enter in the status and change the, to me, coming from the IT side, I'm used to entering a ton of data, and project management on the IT side, that's just what we do. On the operations side, there's a different mindset there, and that there has to be some better way for us to communicate the value of those types of things to people. So that has definitely been a challenge. Process change is a challenge for sure. I will tell you, our employees have also said that, man, this is a very complicated space to learn. We have very limited training resources. We have high volume, It's not likely that I'm able to sit with Sam all day long and Sam's gonna dedicate his life to me and training me, right? I
What's your
need
average
to-
cycle time to train somebody on 29 products?
It's about a year. And even then, I would say they're not proficient in every product. So the way we do it today is we look from a technical standpoint and we look at what are the pillars of technology that are related. So how do we divide all of our projects into 4 chunks and say, you're gonna learn commercial card related products. You're gonna learn a block box and more receivables type of products. So it's been really essential for us to make sure that we're not asking or expecting everybody to know everything, because I can tell you we don't.
Yeah, and I do think when you talk about what doesn't work, I'll just give you, I have found as a truism, particularly when you have 20% attrition or higher, training is never your answer. It is not sustainable. You do not have the resources where training can be your only answer. Because as soon as you finish training, somebody leaves, you start again, you are in a constant cycle of training, you'll be flooding your resources there. So you have to find, in effect, solutions here on communication that are, I call them agnostic to any one individual, and that one individual being there forever. So.
Building off that a little bit, can you describe the extent of your documented policies and procedures? Do you have a thick stack of this is how we do things, or is it more by word of mouth?
Yep. So we have, in the implementation specifically, we have detailed project plans at the product level. So when a new product comes in and we say, okay, we're gonna do a wholesale lockbox, that project manager is provided with, here's the basic project plan that's associated with that product. The variation, do I need all of these teams, the change on the IT side for the client, file formats that are always unique. Those types of things are difficult for us to get into that standard documentation, so that's not clearly spelled out. There might be a placeholder for it, but there's a lot of project plan development that the project managers still do. From a policy and procedure standpoint, in that simple path, which I wouldn't say is really the scope for this, we have very, very clear policies and procedures. There's policies for every product, what we can do, what we can't do, what documentation we have to have, what the steps are, click 2, then 4, then 6, then enter. All that stuff is all done there. It's this project management more